in Sydney checking out the visual art scene, and behind me we've found this amazing place which is part of the Sydney Arts Festival called the Merchant Store. It may look like a building behind me, but if you take a closer look you'll actually see that it's a mirror. I mean, what we're trying to say is just imagine what you can do with your art. Yes, you can paint a picture, or yes, you can make a piece of sculpture or a piece of jewellery, but think beyond that. Think, 2020, what can you do in the future? What kind of different technologies are going to be created so that you can create installations like this and even beyond? Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Lisa.
Fiona is from the Sydney Festival. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening at the festival?
Yes, we're into our third week of the Sydney Festival, and we're coming up to the close, but we've had a fantastic couple of weeks all across Sydney. So from Parramatta through to Sydney Opera House and Carriage Works and Seymour Centre, we've had lots of fantastic shows. And of course we've had the Village in Hyde Park, which has been a series of outdoor and indoor performances in the Spiegel tent and another tent, and it's just been fabulous with installations that people can bounce on and all sorts of great work. And of course here at Darling Harbour we have the Merchant Store, which is a beautiful work by Leandro Ehrlich, who's an Argentinian artist. And what he's done is to create a replica of one of Sydney's iconic buildings, the Merchant Store, in the rocks. And he's created it on the ground with a mirror at 45-degree angle so that people can hang from the windowsills and from, all of the different sections of the building. So there's been an awful lot of selfies, more than 40,000 selfies going on here.
That's amazing. And so, obviously, this is really pushing boundaries of where you can take your art form. But this isn't particularly just visual arts, is it? This crosses the boundaries of that.
Yeah, well, look, it's interesting because Leandro is a visual artist,
right.
But he works quite sculpturally, as you can see, and he also works with interactivity, but it's old-fashioned DIY. It's old-fashioned analog interactivity in that people actually have to come and participate. And so it's very performative, and people have really been loving that. So yes, I think that a lot of art forms are working, across art forms really, and in kind of hybrid ways that are exciting. And it's not so much about whether something's visual arts or performing arts, or a lot of people are working across and between those boundaries, and they don't make a lot of sense to a lot of people anymore. So it's really fantastic. I mean, it's great to have training in a particular art form, but then it's also great to be affected by popular culture and the ways that people want to engage.
Yeah, right. So it's all about just affecting people and giving people an experience, and they go, where am I? What am I actually getting myself involved in? They might walk away and then they'll take something from it, whatever it is.
That's right. And I think that's one of the things that we've been very interested in is what is the experience. So it's about experiential work that people can engage with in surprising ways sometimes.
That's a beautiful word, surprising. So if we're talking to kids and teens that are still in school, what's some advice for them that, if they want to, make an installation such as this, but on a smaller scale?
Yeah, look, I think that there's nothing like DIY in terms of, small scale and indeed large scale. So I think with kids it's really fantastic to just have a go at stuff and not to think that something has to be shiny or glossy. It's actually about crafting something that makes sense and that is going to be playful. I think that the important thing is to play and to experiment and to try things. And so whether that's working with cardboard, so we just had the Boxwallers here from Melbourne.
They're
a group.
What was that?
So that's a group that works with cardboard, and they did this fantastic kind of Mad Max event in Parramatta, and so they worked with people like out of cardboard, building these fantastic Mad Max kind of sculptures that they wore or that they drove, and it's all DIY in the sense that it's cardboard. So they were extremely playful, and I think that there's an enormous amount of play, and of course so many kids are very intuitive with new technologies and are playing with animations and all sorts of digital technologies. And so it is about playing and experimenting, and then it's also about finding out what other people have done. So that in terms of the Sydney Festival, one of the things that we look for in new work is actually looking for something that's distinctive, that's idiosyncratic, that hasn't been done a million times. So it's actually what's distinctive about that, what's new about that, or what's really interesting that I haven't seen before.
Right.
And that's why the play bit is so important.
So do people pitch to you to become part of their festival?
Yes, they do.
How many pitches would you get per year
Well,
for a festival?
we don't actually have a kind of open pitch, but we're talking with artists all the time. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we will go to an artist whose work we've seen and ask them to make something. And in this case, that's what we did with Leandro.
So is that called commissioning?
Well,
or
sometimes
funding?
It's commissioning. Sometimes it is commissioning, yep.
Okay.
So there's a show called Black Diggers that's on as part of the festival that Sydney and Brisbane Festival and Queensland Theatre Company commissioned. So that was actually a clear commission from a very early idea. Something like this, Leandro has done these buildings all over the world, so we invite him to do a Sydney building.
Okay.
So, yeah, so there are just different ways that people, and of course, one of our other programmers might see a fantastic band and say, oh my gosh, we should get these guys to play in the circus tent in the village, and that's presentation. That's all about kind of seeing great work that we know our audiences will love.
Right. And do you have scouts that look on Tumblr, I know all social media, looking for new and emerging artists and ideas?
Yeah, we do. We've got a programming team. So there's 5 of us, a director, and I'm head of programming, and then there's a team of us, and we're always out there looking for work. So at things like the Underbelly Festival, we were all there looking at everybody's work and kind of wondering about what a work might become in its next phase.
Okay.
But we're also out there looking at lots of work and talking to lots of people.
Okay, so it's good to become involved in smaller community festivals because...
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to get in with a network of mates. So I think if you're teenagers, there are always kind of networks, whether they're online networks or indeed, a youth theatre in your local area, or, there's different kind of networks of people that are kind of making work. And the idea is really just to go and see work. I think it's really important to go and see exhibitions and artworks in public places and just have a look at them and think about why.
Yeah.
What they are and why. And that kind of process really helps you to kind of think about what you might like to do.
Right, awesome. So do you have any encouragement for kids and teens on designing projects for the future that may be beyond their means at the moment? Like, would you encourage that, to think of new technology?
Oh, absolutely. I think that the one thing that we say to young artists is practice. Just keep on practicing. And by that I mean just keep on making stuff. Just keep on doing it. And make sure that you show it to people. Don't just keep on doing it in your bedroom. Make sure that you show it to people. And that you invite a kind of network of friends as your audience, because you need to actually understand what people are reading from your work and your art. And so it's about kind of going, well, how do I get an audience to see this? And even if that's putting it in a place that, that is not, your usual place, but putting it in a place and seeing how people respond to it, because that's how we learn about what it's like to engage with an audience.
And I mean, just for example, what an amazing venue, Darling Harbour, and people who maybe possibly wouldn't go to a museum are just coming and experiencing the art in a park.
Exactly. And one of the things we love about this, of course, is that, and indeed Sacrilege, which is up at the village, is that, lots of artworks you're not encouraged to touch. You're not encouraged to be very close to. Whereas this is actually about inviting people in and participating, and they are a part of the artwork. The artwork is nothing without the people.
That's right, especially this one here.
Yeah.
So, do you know of any challenges that young artists may face along the way? Any hurdles to just be aware of, maybe, and prepared for? Yeah,
look, there are enormous hurdles. I would say that it's really not easy to be an artist anywhere in the world. But it's also... but... The great thing, but it is easy to be creative all the time.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing, is to pursue your creativity, and to always work and practice and play and engage with other people. And then you can decide whether you want to be, kind of what I would call a private artist, which is an artist in your own life and in your own network, or if you want to actually play to a much bigger and wider audience. And then you might choose to go to art school, or you might choose to go to a theatre school or whatever, or you may just keep on making work. There are lots of artists in this country who didn't go to art school or theatre school.
Yeah, right. And maybe just to wrap up, do you have any last words of wisdom and advice, tips for kids? on their art career, just beginning their art career?
I would say have fun. It's important that it's fun, and I don't mean that everything that you make has to be fun, but have fun making it and think about why you're making it and who it's for and what they're going to take from it.
Amazing. Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. I think that was such a beautiful, inspiring interview.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona.
Thank you.